All right, we're streaming. Anna, I think we're live now. So what's up, party
Cool.
people? It's your host Sunny Ray for the Sunny Ray Show. Thanks to our sponsors, Raz Rocket and others. Today I'm joined by Anna Raafat. Anna's calling in from Switzerland. Anna, how are you today?
Good. How about you, Sunny?
I'm good. I'm quite excited about the call today and just ready to dive in, I guess. Yeah. So where should we begin? Do you want to maybe we're gonna obviously talk about the company you're building, which I was reading about before the interview. It's super fascinating, interesting. Can you maybe give people like a one-liner in terms of what we'll be covering later on in the show? And then we can maybe start with your backstory and work our way towards it.
Yes, of course. So basically, we're building an agentic financial guidance layer that is boosting transaction volume for fintech platforms such as trading platforms and crypto exchanges.
Oh, I love that. That was right to the point. Okay, that's exciting, and especially as someone who's been, running a crypto exchange for 13 years and having been working in the space, got to admit that sounds very intriguing. But we'll leave that one for a little bit later. I don't know. I always find it's tough to, to just talk about business and money if you don't know the story behind someone.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are intrigued by the title. Why don't you just kick us off? Tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you arrived here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my story is it's a mix of many things. I grew up in France, but I'm actually German and now Swiss. I've always been passionate to simplify things for people. Initially, I thought about studying mathematics, where you really go into deep models and really understanding fundamentals of life behind any kind of industry. But then I decided actually to go into economics, which I think is a great blend between the quantitative and the qualitative world, basically trying to simplify the labor market, the exchange market, the monetary policy market, any kind of market, and trying to simplify it with models, which gives me some kind of sense of control, which I really like. And that's actually how I studied economics. I had the chance to start then my career in central banking at the Swiss National Bank, which was really exciting, really seeing hands on what it is actually to work in monetary policy, especially in a small economy like Switzerland with its own currency, which gives really a lot of insights about the power it has, the accountability it has. But then, if I wanted to continue that path, I needed to go do a PhD, follow really an academic journey, which I think I was too impatient for. So then I actually decided to go into the public sector, the private sector, starting with Deloitte in consulting, which was really amazing experience as an early stage professional, just jumping from one project to the next one, seeing so many industries, pharma sector, finance sector, which are really big in Switzerland, which was an amazing experience for a few years. But then COVID hit, and I realized that I wanted to be part of a smaller company, but where I had a bigger impact. And one of my colleagues that I met at university, Gassen, has started his fintech company back then. So this was 2022, I believe, or 2020. I don't remember exactly. And he needed some help on an operational side and also a bit on a data analysis side. And this is actually how I joined his business. It was a lending marketplace back then, which is how I actually started working with my now co-founder, Gassen, and also my third co-founder, Felix, who was also part of that former business. So we had a chance to work all together already in that business, loved the synergies. I could learn so much from a fintech perspective, also blockchain perspective, because we actually started tokenizing all the loans on ADA, the Cardano blockchain technology. So it was really cool experience. And this is actually how slowly we noticed that we love working together and decided, hey, let's really build something from scratch, the three of us. And this is actually the beginning of Incivio, which I can tell you more about later on as well.
For sure, for sure. But I'm very curious. So, central banking to crypto exchanges, you got to give some more color. What was it that you saw in Bitcoin and this industry that intrigued you? Yeah, and like, were there certain, I don't know, when you call them like challenges or maybe things that the central banks weren't doing that maybe crypto? But I'm just curious, how did you go from like, how did that story arc even happen?
It's not that direct, but I see the link that you're making because indeed, when I was back at the Swiss National Bank, it was 2017. I think they were starting also to work on the whole topic of digital currencies led by central banks, which is a huge topic, right? Especially now. But back then, I remember the Swiss National Bank was investigating that topic, but it was very early stage and I was not so much involved. But I believe what excited me is the whole topic of decentralization, right? And basically giving everyone full power of their data conceptually. And so that's something that excited me very much in general, not necessarily just in cryptocurrency as a use case, but blockchain technology in general, simply to be able to control your data as an individual and being able to share it with whomever you want in full control, be it in the finance space, be it in the even in the healthcare space. I know some countries where there's really like a lot of security behind data sharing in hospitals or so, where you basically share your patient data through the blockchain technology. So I think the use cases are huge, and I really believe this is the future. Um, where I saw the link that is actually going to that space is actually I'm really passionate about education, and I really believe there's a big gap of knowledge that I'm seeing, especially in very complex industries, finance, crypto being one very big one, which is nowadays people have so much access to any kind of apps, any kind of tools. Everyone has access like to be able to trade Bitcoin or to basically leverage stablecoin. Everyone speaks about stablecoin right now. It's really amazing everything you can now do, but I see a huge growth in the gap between that knowledge of individual people, between what they understand in that industry and that space, and actually what access they do have. And I think that gap can lead to multiple implications on a societal level. On an individual level, you might take actions that you might not really understand, especially in the finance world. You might invest without really understanding what you're doing, which might have negative implications. But also on the business side, it has also long-term negative implications because you will generate less revenue. Customers that come, trade, or make any kind of action and don't understand what they are doing might churn, might basically drop off and stay passive, which is also a loss. And that's really the my big passion right now, and what I'm really focusing on also with my business, trying to exactly solve this pain point.
I feel like we could do a whole like hour-long episode on just me asking you questions about this, but let's maybe keep moving forward. Talk a little bit about your aha moment around both Bitcoin and AI. Yeah, like was it Bitcoin that first caught your attention? Was it something else in the crypto space? And then also, you know, how you guys like are using. Oh, we can talk about how you're using AI, but let's first. I'm interested to hear kind of how you came across Bitcoin and you know what your first kind of like sky parting, angel singing moment was.
So actually, it's interesting. I mean, reading the news, first of all, Bitcoin was the biggest use case of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, especially in the beginning. Everyone is like wondering about it, afraid about it. So then you start doing some research, which is how I started reading about it. But then also with the former business I was part of, the fintech lending marketplace in Switzerland, we started building a partnership with the Cardano Foundation, which is one of the biggest third generation blockchain technologies in the world. And they're in Switzerland as well. This is how I started doing more research for the specific use case of that former business, where we started understanding, hey, actually in the lending space, you can basically tokenize loans. And how does that all work? So disclaimer, I'm a non-technical co-founder. My two co-founders are very technical. So I'm really more focusing on the commercial side of it. But this is really actually something that triggered my interest. So that's on the business side. And then on a personal side, I mean, I start trading Bitcoin as well and really starting to understand the implications, the power of it. And I saw myself how complex it can be, and actually how important it is for people to understand what they are doing. Yeah.
What is it that most people miss about Bitcoin? Would you say that I don't know, just in dealing with, I guess now you're running a business in the space. So like what do you think is like the biggest kind of misconception? I mean, I kind of almost want to put the moniker around like central bankers. Like is it I don't know.
I think it's not even
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I,
Go ahead.
I'm I think it's not even that deep. I think it's simply it's complex because it's not tangible, right? And I believe that makes it like for you to understand how it works, you need to really to dig deeper. I mean, either you just use it like that, you go on your neobank and you start trading between Web3 and Web2, right? So that's pretty simple. You have dollars, you convert into Bitcoin, and it stops there. But that's not really like that's like usual crypto exchange. But then even if you go just into the Web3 level, you really need to understand how does it work to be on chain, how does it work, all the different conversions, how to set up a wallet, and the market entry is quite high, I think. And the fact that it's not tangible, I believe, makes it quite complicated. I think it's already at that level. That's it.
Cool. And then maybe before we talk about your company, also talk about AI. Was it the ChatGPT moment, like most of us, or were you tinkering with this, far before everyone became aware?
So I think I was very lucky. So my co-founder Gassan is a data scientist, and I met him at university in 2013. And he already spoke about AI back then, but he called it back then machine learning, big data. So it was really the beginnings of it. And I remember since then I got exposed to it, and I'm very lucky of it because I'm not a data scientist, but I got to understand the power of leveraging data to take more personalized decisions and actions. And that's how it started. And back then in the lending marketplace, so that was 2017, he built a credit risk assessment leveraging AI, leveraging alternative data. So basically to assess the default likelihood of a business, instead of just looking at balance sheets and standard financial data, he was leveraging data from the web, Google reviews, Facebook pages, and all of that feeding into an algorithm that was basically assessing what is the likelihood for that business to default, and based on that, deciding and defining the interest rate and the conditions of that loan. And that excited me so much because I think standard decision tree rules are good for the majority, but there's so many cases, especially for small to medium sized businesses, they might not have access to loans, for example, in that case, because they don't fit into a standard box. And in that specific use case with AI, where you could really predict on an individual case, leveraging a huge amount of data and very alternative data, you could really basically democratize access to finance, which was a use case that excited me a lot back already in 2017. So ChatGPT came later and made it even more like accessible to everyone, but I had the chance of learning more about it already back then by someone very passionate of it.
That's super cool. So you had kind of like an inside track before everyone else did. So in terms of Incivio, right? You guys help trading platforms like crypto exchanges and lending marketplaces convert confused users into, I guess, like active transactors. Can you walk me through what it actually looks like when your AI, detects that a user is stuck or can't, deliver? Like, how do you guys deliver nudges, and how does it all kind of work? Yeah, I'm very curious.
Yes, of course. So yeah, you summarized it pretty well. So we are tech stack. So we're a simple line of code that can be put in basically on top of any kind of web application. We built three AI models. I can go deeper into the models, but basically a clustering model, a large language model trained on a RAG, and then a reinforcement learning model. And these three models are basically reading in a fully anonymized way the user behavior on the platform directly, on the trading platform, on the crypto exchange. We are seeing where the user is, where they seem to be struggling. They are on the historical chart of an asset, for example. They seem to be stuck on that chart, or they are turning around a call to action like, hey, buy or sell. They seem to be spending time on it. We basically understand where they are and where they seem to struggle based on their behavior and our previous data and our own models. And we basically predict what type of knowledge each individual user needs to have at what time, place, and format, videos, text, depending on your preferences. And then basically push them with a nudge, a pop-up, a tooltip, with educational content, informational content, or actionable content to guide the user to the next step in their journey, be it investment journey, trading journey, a lending journey. And these are basically simple boxes that come on top of the environment. So the user doesn't need to leave the trading platform. They don't need to leave the crypto exchange. They can stay there and they basically have more personalized and contextual guidance to move forward.
That's fascinating. I love that. So I think you mentioned recently that you guys are talking to some big players in the space. I won't give them away, but when you're pitching, like a chief revenue officer, what's the moment when you kind of see their eyes light up and when they start to really get it?
Yeah, it's typically, I mean, the KPI we're targeting. So we really have a revenue-driven business model. We want to increase transaction volume or average revenue per user for these businesses. And that's typically their number one KPI. And this is typically first one of the biggest interests that they are facing, and why they usually also take a call with us, which is really like, okay, you're helping me to basically reach that goal, and how are you going to reach it? And basically when we tell them we're basically helping you move after you did all the marketing efforts, you spent lots of budget getting these users on your platform, we help you do the best out of it and not just push them to trade more, but basically trade better. And that is very exciting for them, especially the additional dimension is it doesn't impact the product, because otherwise it can become a cross-functional political challenge for business, which is, okay, I'm a commercial team member. I have a pain point. I need to go speak to the tech team. I need to ask them, hey, please add this to your backlog, which is already very long, very busy. I want to try something out to change the product because I think this will increase my transaction volume of my customers. That takes a lot of time. It's not real time. It's, again, unidimensional or one size fits all for any kind of user. And that doesn't always fly. And this is typically why they're very excited to speak with us.
That's super cool. So I think your tech integrates with just a simple like line of code, right, on top of existing platforms. So that simplicity, I guess, was intentional from day one. And like, did you guys learn through like trial and error, or how did you arrive at that kind of experience for your customers?
I mean, first of all, from our own experience, so my two co-founders are technical, and we had that issue also in the past. Our CTO and co-founder right now had that challenge. Like the marketing team, the sales team came to him, hey, can you please add this and that? And he was like always struggling with them. Hey, I have a backlog of other things I need to prioritize. I'll add this to the end of the roadmap or mid of the roadmap, which will be in a few months. This will cost budget, etc. And we saw this pain point firsthand, and we were like, nowadays we can solve this. And instead of making a change to a product, which is quite intense, to maybe see an impact, if this can just be on top of it, this can reduce that friction level and it can increase the speed of implementation. And nowadays, with computing power and AI, we can really reach that level. So that was an intrinsic motivation that because we faced it ourselves before. And then, yeah, I mean, on my side, I interviewed so many C-levels. I had like more than 50 interviews with chief revenue officers, chief growth and commercial officers in the fintech space. And they shared these pain points, which basically guided more and more how can we basically, what can be our really unique selling proposition and really help these businesses move forward.
That's fascinating. I have so many questions lined up, Anna. I mean, maybe I'll save some of them for part two if you're up for it. But we've got a few minutes left on the clock. Why don't you maybe share with people where they can learn more about yourself, also about the company, maybe share the website, and if you maintain any sort of like blog or something like that where people can double click on the whole idea.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can always follow me on LinkedIn. I can put the link. You can find me under Anna Raafat with the name here, directly on LinkedIn. Always happy to connect with like-minded people who want to innovate and change the world in that space. Also on our website, it's incivio.com. So Incivio with two N, INNCIVIO.com. So these are the main channels, and then happy to take it from there.
Yeah, your passion really like kind of comes through the camera. Your enthusiasm is contagious, and I gotta admit, like, yeah, it's just like, even though I've been in this space for 13 years, meeting people like you just reawakens like why I do what I do. And so thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone enjoyed the interview. And maybe just hang out maybe for 1 minute, Anna, and I'll bring this one to a close. Any closing remarks, or are we good?
No, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm supporting anyone who really wants to make a change. Just go for it. It's really worth it. But thank you so much, Sunny, for having me.
Awesome, man. I know I have a lot of people who run crypto exchanges that follow me. So yeah, if you want to check it out, maybe give Anna a ping on LinkedIn. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
End stream.